Welcome to our deep dive into the dark side of the surveillance state and the erosion of privacy in today's digital world. It's like that feeling when you realize you left your phone at home, except it turns out your phone never left you alone in the first place. From government surveillance to corporate data exploitation, we'll explore how our privacy is being compromised and what it means for our future. Buckle up, because things are about to get a little too real, even for those of you who wear tinfoil hats unironically. Just kidding, unless... Remember Edward Snowden? That name might ring a bell, or maybe you just thought it was a rejected Harry Potter character. Well, back in 2013, Snowden blew the whistle on the NSA's top-secret mass surveillance program, PRISM. It turns out the government was collecting data on, well, pretty much everyone. I'm talking phone records, emails, even internet browsing history. And they weren't just reading your embarrassing teenage poetry, they were analysing this data to track and predict behaviour. Think about that for a second. Your government, the one that's supposed to protect your rights, is out here acting like a creepy ex, stalking your every move online. And it's not just the US. Many countries are engaging in mass surveillance, often justifying it in the name of national security. But let's be real, when the government has access to this much information, it can be very tempting to use it for other purposes, like silencing dissent or targeting specific groups. The technology is only getting more sophisticated. We're talking facial recognition software, AI that can analyze your voice and predict your mood, and even satellites that can see through walls. The scariest part is, most people have no idea this is even happening. We've become so accustomed to the trade-off between privacy and convenience that we've given up our rights without even realizing it. Let's talk about corporate surveillance, because, surprise, it's not just the government that's watching you. Companies are in on the action too, and they're thirsty for your data. In the digital age, information is power, and your personal data is the most valuable commodity out there. Every time you use social media, shop online, or even just browse the web, you're leaving a trail of digital breadcrumbs. Companies collect these crumbs, bake them into a data pie, and sell it to the highest bidder. They're using it to target you with personalized ads. You know, those ads that seem to know you better than your own mother? And let's not forget about the risk of data breaches. Remember when Equifax lost the personal information of 147 million people? Yeah, that was fun. Now, let's talk about the big dogs of data collection, big tech companies like Google, Facebook, Amazon and Apple. These companies are like the puppet masters of the digital age, pulling the strings behind the scenes and shaping our online experiences. And guess what? They're making a killing while doing it. These companies have built their empires on a foundation of surveillance capitalism, a term coined by scholar Shoshana Zuboff. It's a system where our attention and data are extracted, analysed and sold to advertisers. It's like they figured out a way to monetize our every click, scroll and like. Google knows what you search for, Facebook knows who your friends are and what you like, Amazon knows what you buy, and Apple knows where you go and who you talk to. With all this information, they can create incredibly detailed profiles of us, predicting our behaviour and manipulating our choices with scary accuracy. They use algorithms to curate our news feeds, showing us what they think we want to see and filtering out anything that might challenge our worldview. This creates echo chambers where we're constantly bombarded with information that confirms our existing biases, making us more susceptible to manipulation and propaganda. And let's not forget about the addictive nature of these platforms. Chapter 4. Privacy on life support from smart homes to digital footprints. Remember when having a landline was considered peak technology? Now we're surrounded by devices that are constantly listening, watching, and collecting data on us. Our smartphones track our every move, smart speakers eavesdrop on our conversations, and even our refrigerators are collecting data on our eating habits. It's like we've invited a whole team of spies into our homes and given them all access passes to our lives. And the thing is, it's not always malicious. Many of these devices are designed to make our lives easier, more convenient, and more entertaining. But the trade-off for this convenience is our privacy. Every time you use a ride-sharing app, order food online, or even just walk down the street, you're leaving a digital footprint. And these footprints can be used to track your movements, predict your behavior, and even influence your decisions. For example, imagine you're walking past a coffee shop and your phone buzzes with a notification. Get 20% off your next latte. Sounds tempting, right? But what you don't know is that the coffee shop has partnered with a data broker that tracks your location and spending habits. They know you're a sucker for a good latte, and they're using your own data to manipulate you into spending more money. Chapter 5, The Law Catches Up, Eventually, Privacy Laws and the Fight for Our Rights. You'd think with all this surveillance going on there would be some ironclad laws to protect our privacy, right? Well, you'd be wrong. The legal and political landscape surrounding privacy is a complex and often frustrating mess. In many countries, privacy laws are outdated, inadequate, or simply non-existent. They haven't kept pace with the rapid advancements in technology, leaving gaping loopholes that companies and governments exploit. Take the United States, for example. The US has a patchwork of sector-specific privacy laws, like HIPAA for health information and COPPA for children's data. This lack of comprehensive privacy legislation leaves Americans vulnerable to privacy violations. Some states have taken steps to strengthen privacy protections, but there's still a long way to go. Then there's the issue of international surveillance networks. Remember the Five Eyes Alliance? It's a shadowy intelligence sharing agreement between the US, UK, Canada, Australia and New Zealand. It's like a global surveillance club where the members get to spy on everyone. And it's not just the Five Eyes. There are other international agreements that facilitate surveillance and data sharing across borders. But it's not all doom and gloom. Chapter 6. Living in a Fishbowl: The Societal and Psychological Impact of Surveillance. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, the psychological impact of living in a surveillance state. How does it feel knowing that your every move is being tracked, recorded and analysed? Well, for starters, it can create a sense of anxiety and paranoia. You might feel like you're constantly being watched, judged and scrutinised, even when you're alone. This can lead to self-censorship, where you start to second-guess your words and actions, afraid of saying or doing anything that might be misinterpreted or used against you. Imagine a world where you hesitate before expressing a controversial opinion online, afraid of being targeted by algorithms or even reported to the authorities, or a world where you avoid attending certain events or associating with certain groups, fearing that it might negatively impact your social standing or even your job prospects. This kind of self-censorship can have a chilling effect on free speech and stifle dissent, creating a society where people are afraid to speak their minds or challenge the status quo. And it's not just about self-censorship. Constant surveillance can also lead to a feeling of powerlessness and resignation. Chapter 7. The Digital Panopticon: A Glimpse into a Dystopian Future and How to Avoid It. Now, let's take a trip down a dark and twisty road. Imagine a future where surveillance technology has advanced to the point where privacy is nothing but a distant memory. Governments and corporations have access to our every thought, feeling and desire. Your face is your ID, scanned everywhere you go, from supermarkets to subway stations. Social media posts, online purchases, and private conversations calculate your social credit score. If this sounds like Black Mirror, it's not far from reality. China's social credit system shows how surveillance can control populations. Citizens are rewarded or punished based on behavior affecting travel, jobs, and loans. High scores bring perks, low scores bring restrictions and public shaming. Surveillance creates a society where conformity is rewarded and dissent is punished. Other countries are experimenting with similar systems. This is the digital panopticon, where we're all inmates under constant surveillance. Outre Reclaiming Our Digital Lives, thank you for watching. If you found this video informative, please like, share and subscribe for more content on the impact of technology on our lives. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the insidious ways our data is being collected and used, to the chilling implications of living in a surveillance state. But I don't want to leave you feeling hopeless. The fight for privacy is far from over, and there are things we can all do to take back control of our digital lives. Educate yourself about your privacy rights and the ways in which your data is being collected and used. Support organizations that are fighting for stronger privacy protections.